نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We start today's lecture and today's session by turning towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and making dua towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rabbi shrah li sadri. No, available. So I was saying that after they conquer, after the Mecca was conquered, yes. So after the Mecca was conquered, so there was a big drive in somewhere, uh, some kilometers and some miles away from Makkah Mukarramah. There is a place. It's well known as Taif. So there is a big tribe of Taif. They are known as Banu Hawazin. So they decided to not to surrender in front of Muslims, and as a matter of best offense, they decided to first get prepared, and then they decided to make a preemptive attack against Muslims. So when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam learned about their preparations and their commitment and their intention to attack on Muslims, he left the Makkah Mukarramah to to confront them and to fight them. And this battle was known as Hunain, and it's 10 miles away from Makkah al Mukarramah. So what happened that when Muslim army companions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were about to leave Makkah Mukarramah, or when they were leaving the Makkah Mukarramah, so they thought, some of them thought that now we are a big army. So the number at that time was just about 12,000 to 14,000. So number, they were in good strength, they were good in number. So they thought that just because of our strength and just because we are great in number, so how can we be defeated? So some of them, they took that matter as casually or informally, and they said that when we were 313, so we were not defeated, and we were very small in number. We were not defeated. How then we can be defeated when we have got a very great strength and we are great in number? So how can we be defeated? So that was their assumption, and therefore Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, what happened that, and they were faced by a sudden attack. They were faced by a sudden attack from the Banu Hawazin, and due to the sudden attack, there was a big chaos, and uh, and many of them, just because of the chaos and just because of the rush, they everyone started escaping and turning away from the battlefield. So much so that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was left with 100 or something more than 100 companions. But still, at that time, that was the conviction of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was so firm at that time. He took the flag and he said that at that time, "Ana nabiyyun," that verily I am a true prophet, la kazib. So there is no falsehood in my claim. "Ana nabiyyun," that I am a true prophet, wala kazib. So there is no falsehood in my claim. Ana ibn Abdul Muttalib, I am the son of Abdul Muttalib. And then he asked his companions to call where are the Muhajirin? Ain al Muhajirun, where are the Muhajirin? Ain al Ansar, where are the Ansar? And where are that companions and that companions and that companions? And when they were called upon, They came back and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the victory. But still, at that time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has documented an important thing in the Quran and in the Surah At-Taubah, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commented about this battle. Let us see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said us, and what are the matters, and what are the learnings, and what are the reflections from this verse. Okay, and the ayah reads as لَقَدْ نَصْرَكُمُ اللَّهُ فِي مَوَاطِنَ كَثِيرَةٍ, and verily Allah has helped you in many regions. وَيَوْمَ حُنَيْنٍ, and on the day of Hunain, is أَعْجَبَتْكُمْ كَثْرَتُكُمْ. Now please just listen to this part of the verse very carefully. Allah says, is أَعْجَبَتْكُمْ كَثْرَتُكُمْ, and when you, and please you your multitude, your strength pleased you, فَلَمْ تُغْنِ عَنْكُمْ شَيْئًا, but not avail you anything. Your strength did not avail you or was not of any benefit for you. فَلَمْ تُغْنِ عَنْكُمْ شَيْئًا وَضَاقَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْأَرْضُ, and the earth was straightened upon you. بِمَا رَحُبَتْ, in spite of its vastness. And ثُمَّ وَلَّيْتُمْ مُدْبِرِينَ, and then you turned back fleeing, and then you turn back on your and then you turn away on your backs, and you started escaping from the battlefield, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that. So that was a message, a clear message for Muslims up to the day of judgment, that if a Muslim community, if a Muslim army, and if we as Muslims are going to achieve any kind of success, that we have got our own parameters. As to the nations, as to the non-Muslim nations, they can be successful just because of the technology. They can be successful just because of their business, their powerful economy. They can be successful, they can be victorious just because they are very brave. So they have got their own parameters because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has left them what they are doing. But when it comes to the Ummah Muslimah, and Ummah Muslimah is being held and is being derived by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so it has got its own parameters. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that when we turn, when our hearts are turned from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala towards the world and towards the worldly strength and towards the military strength, and a dependence is mainly upon the military strength, then there comes a lesson from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that military strength alone is not going to help you, because it is the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is the nusra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that will make you successful. So that was a very important lesson from Yom Hunayn. and and verse number, that it was verse number 25. And very important point, in verse number 31, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that, discussing what were the deviations of Ahlul Kitab, of the people of book, of Jews and Christians, and discussing their deviations, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in verse number 31. Please listen to the verse and the translation, and then I will point out some important points regarding this verse. And the verse reads as اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبان أربابا من دون الله. اتخذوا, they have taken أحبارهم, their rabbis, their scholars, ورهبانهم, and their monks, their spiritual mentors, as lords besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this verse was revealed, and there was a companion who was formerly Christian, and his name was Adi ibn Hatim radiyallahu ta'ala. So he humbly asked the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he was a bit confused, and his confusion was based upon, as the Quran mentioned, that they have taken their scholars and they have taken their spiritual mentors, their ruhban, means, as we say in Arabic, or we say in Muslims, mashayikh. So their monks and their spiritual mentors, their reverends and bishops, as to be their lords. So he was confused. He was a bit confused. So Adi ibn Hatim radiallahu ta'ala, he asked Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it never happened in Christianity, it never happened that we claimed scholars and we claimed about bishops and reverends that they are lords. We don't, that was not a belief that we took them as a lords. So, but the Quran has mentioned that اتخذوا أحبارهم رهبان أرباب من دون الله. They have taken their scholars and their spiritual mentors and monks and bishops as their lords. So, what is the real explanation? So that was the question of Adi ibn Hatim radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked a very simple question, which elaborated the reality of oneness of God, the reality of lordship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is a big matter of concern for our Muslims also, because we claim to be that we are muwahhideen, that we believe in oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But look what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Adi ibn Hatim. That was a very simple question. He asked them that it was not the matter that did not it happen that whatever your scholars told you, you took that to be right, and whatever your scholars prohibited you and they forced you to not to do, you took up it as a matter of religion, that it is haram and it is prohibited. So the authority of to lay down the principles, to lay down the laws and judgments, and the authority, the absolute authority was given to the church. The absolute authority was given to the scholars. So the absolute authority was given to their mashayikh. So that was a simple question. Did not it happen like this or not? And Ali ibn Hatim radiallahu ta'ala replied, yes, it happened. They had got the ultimate and absolute authority. What they said, that this is halal, that is lawful, it was taken as to be lawful. Against the Sharia and against the commandments of Torah, if a scholar said that no, that was at that time, and I am in my capacity is claiming to be this thing to be lawful to you, and even it was prohibited in Torah, in the Bible, in the Old Testament, at the time of Moses, even if that was prohibited at that time, but the church in its capacity announced for that these are things are lawful at this time, that Christians took gave the authority to the church to claim so that it can announce and it can draw the lines for what is lawful and what is prohibited. So when Ali ibn Hatim radiallahu ta'ala replied that yes, it really happened like this. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that this is what they were. They took their scholars and they took their monks and spiritual mentors and bishops and reverends to be their lords. So what does it mean? I just wanted to point out that if we say that we believe in Allah, and if we say and if we claim and if we really believe in that in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it has got its requirements also. It has got practical implications, and Tawheed has got practical requirements, and it does require from us that authority only rests with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any community, any government, any parliament, any authority cannot be, even if it is a theological authority, if it is a community scholars of fuqaha mufassir, so it is a very well settled principle in Islamic Sharia that even a faqih, even a sahabi, even a prophet. Look, just look, because in the Quran it has been mentioned, and because these unbelievers asked the Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ائti bi Quran ghayri hadha, that this Quran is not acceptable to us. Please bring a Quran other than this. This Quran is very straight. It lays down very clear principles. It does not leave any room for our beliefs, for our polytheist beliefs. So this Quran, according to their claim, was very rigid. So not acceptable to us. So please bring a Quran other than that. ائت بقرآن غير هذا, please bring a Quran other than that. أو بدله, or at least just make this Quran, modify this Quran according to our desires and wishes, so that it can be acceptable to us. That was their request, or what we can say that that was their demand. And what Allah SWT said that after that, قُلْ مَا يَكُونُ لِي أَنْ أُبَدِّلَهُ مِنْ تِلْقَاءِ نَفْسِي. No, I have not given so much authority that I can change the Quran from myself. إِنْ أَتَّبِعُ إِلَّا مَا يُوحَى إِلَيَّ. I myself, I myself follow this Quran. I am also supposed to follow this Quran, and I have not got any authority so that I can modify this Quran. So many of the Muslims and deviated communities within the Muslims about to change this Quran, or to present this Quran according to the wishes and demands of people, and it is a great fitna. You know, it is a great fitna. Because if Allah SWT has given the Prophet Muhammad, and at some time, and there was an incident that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he just made a commitment, or he swore that use honey. I will not use honey, and it is a detailed incident. But Allah SWT said in the Quran, Surah Al-Tahrim, Ya ayyuhan nabi lima tuharrimu ma ahallallahu lak. O Prophet, how can it a thing prohibited from your own which Allah SWT has made lawful for you? How? But there is lima tuharrimu, lima, why and how? Tuharrimu ma ahallallahu lak. How can you make anything haram from your own judgment, or from your own opinion, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made lawful for you? So that was the point, that even in the day we are living through, and we are going through in these days, and we are not aware of the firm what our firm belief requires, and what its practical implications are. So that was my point from Surah Taubah. And just to summarize, I just want to mention, and I am skipping, bypassing 2 to 3 points. I just want to point out towards the verse number 100. And I will read once, and then I will try my best to explain it. وَالسَّابِقُ الْأَوَّلُ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ. Allah SWT has said that وَالسَّابِقُ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ. So it is the verse number 100 of Surah At-Taubah, and it says that, and the first forerunners in the faith, and the foremost, the first among the Muhajirin and the Ansar, وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ, and those who followed them with good conduct, and those who followed them in goodness, رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ, Allah is pleased with them, وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ, and they are pleased with Him. وَعَدَّ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي تَحْتَهَا الْأَنْهَارِ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared for them gardens, flows below the rivers, خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا, and they will, wherein they will abide by forever, and they will live in these gardens forever. And ذَلِكَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ, and that is the great success. Now, After listening to the translation, I just want to mention some basic point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that as-sabiqun al-awwalun, that those persons who are the forerunners and they are the first among muhajirin wal ansar. So there are two division among the companions, the great companions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those who migrated from Makkah al Mukarramah towards Medina. They are known as emigrants and muhajirin. They are of very high merits, and those who were from Medina Munawwara and they supported these immigrants with their wealth, with their houses, with everything they had. They supported these immigrants. They are called Ansar. They helped them. So these are the two divisions among the companions of Prophet Muhammad. And Allah SWT said that as-sabiqun al-awwal min al-muhajirin wal-ansar. So what does it mean? That the first forerunners in the faith among the muhajirin and the ansar, and those who followed with them, who followed them with good conduct. Followed them means that among the companions that embraced Islam, that entered into the Islam after, many have mentioned after Sulh Hudaybiyah, or they have entered into the Islam after Fateh Makkah, conquest of Makkah, and those who came afterwards and they followed the companions, and they are known as tabi'een. They did not have the opportunity to see Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so they are not called companions, but they have got the opportunity to live and follow companions, so they are known as tabi'in. And those who were the students of tabi'in, they are known as tabi'in. And so the chain goes on, and so this the chain goes on up till now. That whosoever follows these rightly guided companions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has announced that Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Him. Now, the important point I just wanted to discuss according to this verse, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has presented the companions and their paths and the way as a standard or a yardstick for hidayah, for guidance. Any person who says that I have got the Quran, any person who says that I have got the books of Hadith, so I have got the Quran, I have the Hadith, so that's okay. No. And from this point, the deviation starts. Any person, because, and in another tradition, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told before that the Bani Israel, they divided into 72 different cults. And my ummah, those who will believe on me, will divide into 73 cults, 73 different groups. And from these 73 groups, only the Firqa an-Najiyah, only the group who is called as an-Najiyah, the successful group, will be in paradise and other will be accountable for their deviation. So the companions asked that what is this farqa and najiyah? What are their traits and what are their attributes? So how can we judge that this community and these people are among firqa najiyah and these people are not among firqa najiyah? So the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam elaborated moreover and explained and said that Ma ana alayhi wa ashabi, that the path at which I am and my dear companions will be. So this path is Al Firqa Najiyah. This is the way of Al Firqa Najiyah, of successful groups, of a successful community, and these principles are being given up till the day of judgment. So the Quran is to be explained and it should be understood according to the shadow of a hadith. And a hadith should be interpreted by what their companions and the learned companions have explained us, and they have practically transferred that religion which they learned from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they practically taught all these things, the namaz, the salah, and all these things they practically demonstrated in front of their students, and they transferred all the religion. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with him. Now we come to the Surah Younus, and there are only 2 points just to mention. The that was 3 points. I will start from one point. Surah Younus is a Makki surah, and it discusses mainly about Tawheed, oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the argument for the prophethood, and the detailed account about Akhirah. And just to mention, I just want to mention 2 to 3 verses, and then that's all from today's session. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has explained a scenario, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not explained a scenario, but has mentioned a scenario which these Arabs, because they went for the trade, and in Arab land it was deserts, and all their economy and all their living was dependent about trade. So during their trades, they were used to travel among the sea, and travel within the rivers and sea, and within the what should say in the ships. So many of time there was some kind of experiences. So they have got the experiences, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned such kind of experience which many of them has faced during their journeys within the sea. And it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that in this verse number 22, هو الذي يسيركم في البر والبحر, that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who enables you to travel in the land and the sea, حتى إذا كنتم في الفلك, until when you are in the ships, وجرين بهم بريح طيبة, and they sail with them with a wind, with a good wind, فرحوا بها, and they rejoice, جاءتها ريح عاصف, and then suddenly comes to a stormy wind, and comes to them a stormy wind, وجاءهم الموج من كل مكان, and comes to them waves from every place, وظنوا أن محيط بهم, and they assume that they are surrounded with them, دعوا الله مخلصين له الدين. So they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala supplicating in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sincere to him in their religion. They are sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within their dua, within their supplications, and they just call only one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَإِنْ أَنْجَيْتَنَا مِنْ هَذِهِ, that if you save us from this calamity, لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ, surely we will be among the thankful. So now, interesting thing that many times and many atheists have confessed that they were when surrounded. It's just a simple case. That was a simple case when you are in sea. But it is not necessary that this ayah is related only to that person who is surrounded in a sea, because we can be surrounded by any calamity. We can be surrounded by any crisis, financial crisis, by health crisis, by physical crisis, a crisis by our family, a family crisis, a political crisis, and each and every crisis we can be surrounded by any crisis you can imagine, and you can assume, and you can suppose. Okay, so when anybody is surrounded by a crisis, that there is not a single or faintest ray of hope to how that he can get out of this crisis. What does he do? So I was saying that many atheists said that they make a atheist prayer. No, it is something really very interesting and surprising also, because these words, atheist prayer, it is a self-contradictory statement. Because if a person is atheist, if he does not believe in Allah, then why he is making a dua? And if He is making a special atheist prayer. And what is special atheist prayer? That, oh God, if you are there, oh God, if you are there, if you do so and so to me, I will be obedient and I will do so and so. And Dr. Lawrence Brown, in one of his lectures, has mentioned that he made this atheist prayer. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so rahim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so gracious. And is so gracious that even he is making supplication with ifs and buts also. Huh? Ifs and buts also. He is not saying, he is not confessing that, oh Allah, you are there. You are the only one who can save me from this crisis. Even in this crisis where he is being surrounded, even then he is making a supplication with ifs, with conditions. Oh God, if you are there. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so gracious, is so merciful. That's it is an endless mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon his slaves. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes many things easy for him. So that was so the Dr. Lawrence Brown said that, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave health to his little daughter, and he was the one who knew that I have made a promise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he learned religion, different religions, Christianity, and all these things, and finally he accepted Islam. And you can find his lectures in the YouTube. But in the next verse, in the verse number 23, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَمَّا أَنْجَاهُمْ, but when Allah saved them, إِذَا هُمْ يَبْغُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ, so suddenly, at once they commit injustice upon the earth without right. إِذَا هُمْ يَبْغُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ, they go back to their rebellious state. They go back to their rebellious lifestyle بغير الحق, without any right. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls upon the mankind and says, Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind, innama baghyukum ala anfusikum. Your rebellion is against yourselves. Mata al hayat dunya, it is enjoyment of worldly life. ثُمَّ إِلَيْنَا مَرْجِعُكُمْ, and then to us is your return, and we will inform you of what you used to do. And Professor Dr. Lawrence Brown, he says that when one day he was sitting in his clinic, then he received a call from a woman, and that woman, she said that I want to accept Islam. And he asks why, and she says that I am facing the same problem you face, that your daughter was very ill. She was, as announced by the doctors, that it is very difficult that she can cover from this condition. So I'm facing the same problem with my child. So I also want to accept Islam. So he said that okay, I'm in my clinic. You can come to my clinic and we can sit down and we can discuss and I can tell you something about Islam. But that woman, she did not come. And after 1 week, she suddenly came to meet Dr. Lawrence Brown. And Dr. Lawrence Brown said that, and I reminded her about her intention that she wanted to embrace Islam. So very surprisingly, and it's really very unfortunate also. Not it's not interesting. It's really very very unfortunate. And what was her reply? No, I don't need it now. I don't need it now, because when she made it a supplication, she made many, many promises. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave health to his children, and when she knew, and when she saw that everything is okay, then why should I go and accept Islam, and why should I leave my religion? So everything is okay. It's going fine. What happened is happened, and everything is going to be right now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that, please listen once again. Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind, innama baghyukum ala anfusikum, your rebellion is against yourselves. Mata al hayatud dunya, it is only enjoyment of worldly life. Ilayya ilayna marji'ukum, and then to us is your return. فَنُنَبِّئُكُمْ, and we will inform you of what you used to do. بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ, of what you used to do. That's all. And one thing only I will discuss tomorrow about Surah Younus, and then we will go further. And that's all for today's session. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.